Greetings, Jelly Speeds, and welcome back to another episode of Monday Madness, the Monday show where I talk about anything and everything. And today I'm bringing you an extra one. I am trying very hard to get back into doing a video every single week, but because I've now split off and the Peter Pan Lore channel has its own channel, I've been doing sort of bi-weekly, one on each. But I really want to try and do one on each, or at least one for every Monday Madness. So we are back this week for an extra Monday Madness. And as you might have guessed from the makeup, we are doing a part 2 to the Garnet and the Goth Boy story. And you'll be delighted to know that from the comments, I have chosen a name. Goth Boy finally has a bloody name. So, I will recap you where the story left off, and then we will just carry on in. For anyone who does not remember from last time, hi, I'm Morku, I'm a storyteller, and I have no idea what's going to happen. I have not written or planned anything. I just rewatched the last video to remind myself of what happened at the end of the story, and I am going to blather onto the camera for maybe an hour and improvise what the hell happens next. And if you guys want to hear more, you can let me know. But my Patreons have been doing a secret special thing with me, and they have been voting for designing an original character, an OC. So they have been helping me to design a character. I am now going to create a cosplay of that character, and in the next few weeks I'm going to start making a story about that character, and then you guys in the comments can decide where that story goes. A bit of improvised storytelling from me with a little bit of input from you. Sort of D&D without the roles, really. So, you have that to look forward to. So, I think this part 2 might be the end of this guy's story, but if you want more, you can always let me know. Alright, here we go. Garnet and the Goth Boy. Let's pick up where we left off, shall we? Before we dive into the video though, I would first like to say a thank you to Phantom Jack Cosplay in the comments, because you gave us the name for Goth Boy. In fact, you gave us 2 names. As I mentioned in the last story, the Goth Boy changed his name when he ran away from his abusive family. So, the original name, as given to him by Phantom Jack Cosplay, is Vesterin, or Vesterin. I quite like Vesterin, so I think I'm going to go with Vesterin. Very elvish, very regal, very royal, definitely suits his family original name. But of course, the Goth Boy changed his name when he ran away from his abusive family. So, what was the name that Phantom Jack Cosplay gave that he changed his name to? He changed it to Aris. I really like this name. It's short, it's sharp, it sounds like a bard. It sounds like a bard who plays the guitar. I absolutely love it. So, for the remainder of these videos, Goth Boy is called Aris. Unless, of course, his family pop up again, in which case he may be referred to as Vesterin. Aris had made his way to a huge city where he had met and slowly started to fall for the person who took him in and helped him when he arrived. A absolutely stunning, and I'll try to get my Hero Forge mini up on here somewhere, stunning tiefling called Garnet. And Garnet, they are the most beautiful person that Aris has ever seen in his entire life, and slowly the feelings start to develop. Through a series of circumstances, Garnet ended up taking Aris in to live with them, and the two of them stayed together for a long time, and over the months, feelings started to develop, but no one had really mentioned anything yet. So where did we leave off? Well, last time there had been a robbery. Someone had broken into their little apartment while Aris was out at the market. He came home and found a gravely injured Garnet half hanging out of the window with glass embedded in their chest. Immediately rushing to go and help, Aris didn't initially notice what was missing. But after rushing to the magical healers to try to get them to help Garnet, Aris realized what was missing. It was gold coins from his purse. But he had no idea why anyone would break into their apartment, leave everything else they had, and just steal some gold. It felt very strange. Thankfully, the healers were able to start healing up Garnet, but just as they began, a huge ruckus started happening in the marketplace. Aris ran to see what was happening and saw a group of, I'm going to call them bad guys, who had the coins. They used these coins to open a magical device, believing that it was going to give them their heart's desire. Unfortunately, when the device opened, a huge, godlike genie being stepped out, and when they demanded of it that they released it and they would get their heart's desire, the creature instead slaughtered them all. And now it has turned its dark, red eyes on Goth Boy Aris. So let's pick up the story then and see what on earth is going to happen next. You don't know, and frankly, nor do I. Let's improvise and find out. Aris starts to breathe hard. His heart starts to beat faster and faster as the panic sets in, staring into these big, dark, red eyes, staring up into the smoky body that's standing there with huge arms and legs and bearing down on him. The bodies of those it just killed are still lying, dripping fresh blood over by his feet, and he stands unsure what to do. The creature leans closer, red eyes in the smoke swirling around. And Aris somehow finds the courage to speak. "What are you?" The creature in the smoke laughs, a hollow laugh that echoes somewhere in the depths of the smoke as it rises up and strides slowly in a circle, encasing Aris in the smoke, leaving a trail as it walks. The creature paces slowly, 1, douche, 2, douche, 3, douche, and it circles, getting closer and closer. And soon the smoke has covered everything, the sky, the market, everything. All essence of the day and the world around has gone, and it is just they two. The smoke-filled creature, the dark red eyes, and Aris standing rooted to the spot, wondering what the fuck is going on. "You ask me what I am," the creature whispers through the smoke. Aris nods and swallows hard. The creature pauses and seems for just a moment to consider. And then the voice comes back again. "An interesting question. I shall show you." The smoke thickens and plumes and pools. It rises up. Aris can see it now. He can't see his hands. He can't see his knees. It's slowly coming up all the way over his face. He tries to scream, but instead... a mouthful of the smoke goes down into his lungs. He feels it stinging and burning, but it's cold, 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 and then suddenly everything is shooting flames and fire up inside his head, and ringing in his ears are the shouts and the cries of his parents and his mother, and every insult that's ever been thrown at him, everything he ran away from, every pain ever caused him, every injury, everything is lit on fire. Every scar down his back, on the back of his legs, up his arms, every wound they ever inflicted upon him has been reopened, and is howling and screaming in pain, and he can't tell if it's his voice or the voice of all the screams he has ever made in the past. And then suddenly it's all gone in a flash of black light, and the smoke is gone. Aris blinks, but his eyes are open. The world is slowly coming into focus, like when you wake up and everything seems a blur and slightly black and white. But no, the more he looks, the world is grey here. And he's no longer standing in the marketplace. He takes one tentative step forward and feels the earth shift. And as he looks around, he realizes that he must be somewhere far away. And with an uncomfortable shudder, it feels close to home, the place that he vowed he would never go back to. He recognizes architectural styles. He doesn't know the place, he hasn't been there before, but it is certainly close to where his parents brought him up. A cart rattles by in the street. People wander past. He can hear voices, but everything is low and echoey. And there are no shadows as people move. He takes another step, slowly looking around. The smoky creature is nowhere to be seen. He starts to walk, heading down a cobbled street. And as he turns a corner, he catches a glimpse of the only colour in existence at the moment. And it's those dark red eyes again. But this time, they're on a man. A normal-looking man, a human-looking man. But somehow, there are dark red eyes covering his pupils. And as the man walks past, he doesn't seem to notice Aris at all. But Aris follows in hot pursuit. The human man walks purposefully down the street. He looks like he knows where he's going. He's not in a hurry, but he is going somewhere. And as he turns, Aris turns with him. He turns again, Aris turns with him, and starts to look at the man's clothes. He looks well brought up. He looks polished. There's not a scrap of clothing that has not been perfectly ironed and tuned. Everything has beading, embroidery. It looks rich. It looks expensive. But the man himself does not. His boots, though fancy, look well worn, well trodden. The heels have been worn down, the toes are scuffed. Even the coat itself, beautiful and magnificent as it is, sweeping almost down to the floor. Aris realizes as the man turns a corner, it does not fit him properly. The shoulders hang slightly too big, and the collar does not sit just right. These clothes were not made for him then. The man turns a corner and Addis notices that he looks thin. His face looks hollow and gaunt. You can see the bones coming through his skin. Even his hands thin, almost skeletal. Addis follows on as the man turns another corner. As they journey on, Addis starts to notice that the buildings are changing. They are leaving the center of town and they are heading into another district. They are going up a slight incline and the houses are getting bigger and richer. There are guards, there are fountains, there are high fences. And now the reason for the man's outfit starts to make sense. He's trying to fit in a world he does not belong. Addis instinctively feels just a little twinge of sympathy for the man at this point. Having grown up in this world, he knows how judgmental it can be, even towards their own kin. And his discomfort grows as the man stops in his tracks and turns, looking up at a vast mansion house. It is not the one that Addis grew up in, but it gives the same sense of imposing dread. And as he stands looking up at it beside the man he is following, he realizes they are both thinking the same thing. Neither has any real desire to be there. 2 guards come down the sweeping driveway. They open the gate without a word. They do not ask the man his name, they simply nod and let him pass. Addis follows once again, and he realizes that these 2 guards can also not see him. They reach the grand house, the front door is opened. More guards greet them inside, along with butlers, servants, staff. However, the house is dark. Despite the many lavish chandeliers dangling and dripping with crystals, none of them are lit. The passage they are led into only bears a few candles, and 2 of them are already snuffed out. The house has boards over its windows, and while it is clean and perfect, it is dark. In some places, as Addis peers into rooms they pass, it is near pitch black. He notices as they are led deeper into the house that each of the servants has their own candle. They go down another passage, past the kitchens, and then downstairs. Addis was not expecting to go downstairs. No one goes downstairs. That is the servants' quarters. He wonders why they are going down here, but he does not wonder for very long. When they reach a door at the bottom of the stairs, it opens with a creak, and they are ushered inside, but everyone who had been leading the man does not follow. Addis scurries in after him as the door closes with another ominous creak. And they find themselves standing in a room with only 1 candle lighting it. The candle has near burnt out, and it sits at the very end of a table. Long table. Addis believes it's what they used to use for the servants' dinners. And somewhere at the very end of this room, a shadowy shape moves in the dark. The red-eyed man does not speak, and Addis dares not move from his spot just beside him. They are both watching the candle at the end of the table. Slowly, the shape begins to move towards them. The candlelight flickers as it passes. A hand is dragged upon the table as it slowly, carelessly moves closer. Long, dark, scratchy nails catch on the wood, and the footsteps are barefooted, and you can hear the clitter-clatter of long, jagged nails. Step, step, step. The shape draws nearer, and then a voice comes, and the voice seems to strip the air from the room as it speaks. "I can do what you ask," it says as the steps draw closer and then stop, just on the edge of the candlelight. The shape before them is still just a shadow. You cannot see eyes, you can barely make it out, but it stands about 7 feet tall. And then the man with red eyes speaks for the first time. His hands are behind his back. He attempts to look strong, but Addis can see that he twitches. "I cannot pay much, but I am willing." The shape croons, and the nails that were dragged along the table scratch somewhere at a chin in the darkness. "What do you have?" And the man with red eyes fumbles slightly with something in his coat and draws out a handful of gold coins. "This is all I have in the world. I have nothing and no one. This is it." The 7-foot-tall shape draws itself a little nearer, and a head peers out of the darkness, the neck extending longer as it leans down to peer into the man's trembling hand. It counts the coins, a long nail tapping each one. "It will suffice." And then the coins are gone, swept away by a sweep of dark shadow and clacking nails, and they disappear into the darkness. The shape is still standing, mere feet from them, looming as a big, empty shadow. The man with red eyes lowers his shaking hand and says, "You assured me I would live forever. I give you everything I have, and I pledge myself to your service. Is this accurate?" He gets no reply, but a dark, shadowy hand reaches out, and one finger strokes his cheek, coming to a stop at his chin, holding him in place, looking at the creature with one fingernail poised under his chin. A silence sits between them, and as Artis stares horrified, the man with red eyes nods his head and says, "I will serve." And then the shadowy shape pounces. Both hands grasp at the man with red eyes as they claw at the side of his face. As the shadows swirl around him, encompassing, closing in, the candle flickers and dies. There is now only darkness and shadow and swirling mist, and Artis stands there, unable to see but hearing everything horribly. He hears tearing, rips, shreds of fabric. Things go flapping, flying past him. And then the shadowy creature begins to move again, faster and faster, like a whirlwind, round and around. And all Artis can see now are those red eyes as they get obscured by shadow and mist. And then the screams begin. It starts with a rip and a tear, but it is no longer fabric and clothing. This time it is flesh. The man is being torn limb from limb, and every scrap of bone is being devoured. But the red eyes never disappear. They flicker as shadows race past them, and then they drop to the floor with the remnants of whatever is left. And Artis is left standing in the dark, watching the red eyes glazed over on the floor, where the man must be lying, or whatever is left of him. The dark, shadowy shape is laughing now, but the laughter has drawn back. It is getting further and further away. And then another sound. A rushing of wind, but it's cooler this time and slower as it slowly slithers past, and there is a hint of grey this time. It encompasses whatever is left of the man, and the red eyes are caught up in it. It tumbles together into a tiny shape, and then the screams begin once more as it drags down and down and down, and then dissipates. The red eyes flicker and go out like the candlelight. And as it all drops to the ground, Artis hears tink, 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 the sound of those gold coins landing on the floor. And then the world goes black once again, and he comes back to his senses. Everything shadowy disappears from around him, and he is standing once again in the remnants of that market. And he looks up, and he sees those dark red eyes again. Thinks he understands. So he asks the only question that comes to his head. Can I help you? The swirling smoke creature tilts its head And Artist cannot help but remember the shadowy smoke creature from the vision, which tilted its head in much the same way. And as the mouth opens, a dark hole about to speak, Artist hears someone shout his name. Artist! Artist! And there is running, pounding feet, heels skittering on the floor. Artist turns and sees more red. Red running towards him. Red he longs to embrace. Red he is so delighted to see alive and well in the world again. And Garnet comes sprinting into view. Artist cannot help himself. He turns away from the smoky creature, extends his arms to Garnet, and runs to embrace them. As Garnet arrives and they fall into each other's arms, Garnet is breathing heavy and slow. There is still fresh blood seeping down their back and their front. Artist can feel it, adding more to the blood stains that were already upon him from when he carried Garnet all the way to go to see the healers. Not wanting to let go, but knowing he must have the answer, he pushes Garnet back by the shoulders, looking them up and down. He sees the huge gaping wound has been stitched, magically closed, but it is barely holding. And he grips Garnet tight, and everything he wants to say nearly comes spilling out of him, but he just can't do it yet. And instead he says, Why have you left the healers? Look at you! And Garnet almost manages one of their signature smiles through what is undoubtedly pain, and manages to say, Leave you to all the fun? What is happening? And then both of them turn to look at the huge shadowy creature with the dark red eyes. Artist starts to explain, but the creature hushes him with a finger. All its attention now turned and fixed on Garnet. You are not of this world, it says. Garnet blinks. Huh? The creature moves in a step. Doosh, doosh. It cracks as bits of barrel splinter under its shadowy feet. It moves in and looks closer. You are not of this creation. Garnet blinks again, holding very tightly onto Aris. And Aris instinctively knows that it is not just from the pain anymore, but also from a little twinge of fear. They both stare up at the creature. And I'm very tempted to leave the story here because I've got a few different ideas of where this could go and I don't want to get caught up in too many decisions, so I'm going to finish it here and I'll probably do a third part at some point soon. Let me know if you want it down in the comments below, but we're going to finish it with a few lines of dialogue here. Number 1, Garnet managing to compose themselves a little bit while holding on to their totally not beloved is going to look up at this massive shadowy creature and go, I'm going to need a little bit more from you there, buddy. What? Artist is going to look from one to the other, and as he does, he is going to notice that the shade of red that is in the creature's eyes is exactly the same shade of red as Garnet's eyes. And then the creature, saying the last line for today's story, will sweep in around them, lower itself to their level so that it's looking directly into their eyes, and it will say to both of them, you need to come with me now. And that's where we'll leave it for today. I'm going to go and film a Peter Pan lore episode, and I will see you guys in a week where I will bring you the very end of this story. Let me know your thoughts and ideas in the comments down below. And as ever, thank you to my Patreons for doing all your wonderful stuff. If you want to join them, you can go join my Patreon, or you can support me on my Ko-fi page. That's where I have all my little bits and pieces. If you want to go support Peter Pan Lore, there's a YouTube channel and a TikTok for all that as well. And to everyone on Patreon, I will be posting some more things for you to vote on. So when this story is finished, I will start doing the TikTok series of the OC that you guys helped me to create. And then everyone, I will be getting your comments in TikTok and in YouTube. And I'll be then creating the story on YouTube in different videos. You guys can vote and give me ideas, and then I'll be cosplaying it and showing the stories over on my TikTok as well. Alright then, storytelling overload. Where do you think it should go next? Let me know in the comments down below. Alright, goodbye my wonderful jelly spoons. Goodbye!